Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about single sign-on. So a few key features of the so-called Azure Seamless Single Sign-On, or just SSO, because who wants to say that over and again, are going to be, according to Microsoft, the user experience, right? So users automatically get signed in both on-prem and cloud-based apps. So you log in once and you can use whatever you need to use. SSO is free. You don't have to have any paid versions of Active Directory to use it. So-called opportunistic. If it ever fails, then you go back to a standard login experience. And that means, worst case, you have to log in for each app that you're running until SSO comes back online. It works in all major web browsers that support Kerberos authentication, which is pretty much all of them. And there's support there for Windows 7 all the way to 10, and Server 2012 R2 and above, and Mac OS. It's pretty easy to deploy. You can roll it out via group policies, and it works with both password hash sync or pass-through authentication. And lastly, you can register non-Windows 10 devices with Azure Active Directory without actually needing federated services infrastructure in place. Now, before you decide to use Azure SSO as your solution, ask yourself these questions. Does it work everywhere? Basically, if you're in Germany, or your environment is in Azure Germany, or if you're working in the Microsoft Azure Gov Cloud, you're not going to be able to use single sign-on. They just simply don't allow that particular behavior to work for mostly security reasons. Does SSO support alternate ID for the username? So some applications may allow you to use alternate IDs, and SSO will support it, but not all Office 365 apps do. So be aware that if you want to use an alternate ID in your code, that SSO does support it, but not everywhere. And then, of course, you need to ask yourself what sign-in methods are going to work with SSO. Both the password hash sync and pass-through authentication work, but SSO does not work with ADFS. So if you're using ADFS, you may have to find another solution. And then you also have Azure AD Join. By comparison, you'll find that single sign-on via AD Join is for users with devices that are registered to Azure AD, but not necessarily on the domain. So you can have various workstations or devices that are present in AD and can take advantage of single sign-on, but they're not domain members. Pretty straightforward. And then, of course, SSO works without federated services, and non-Windows 10 devices can actually use it, but they have to use version 2.1 or later of the Workplace Join client. And any situation where you have both of these options enabled, AD Join is going to take precedence over SSO for its login. The main things to remember if you see any single sign-on questions in the exam is that SSO does not work in Azure Gov and does not work with ADFS, and that AD Join is going to be your solution if you do have an ADFS environment. And that'll do it for single sign-on. So hop over to the next video and we will go on from there. See ya.